what happens after we die? For centuries, this question has haunted and fascinated humanity. Among the most intriguing insights come from Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, who offered vivid accounts of the soul's journey beyond the grave. According to Cayce, death is not an end, but a continuation of life in a different form. In this video, we will explore what Cayce revealed about the activities, purposes, and experiences of those who have passed beyond the physical world. To Edgar Cayce, death was never the end. Instead, it was merely a transition, a natural continuation of the soul's journey. Cayce often compared death to moving from one room to another. The consciousness, the true self, simply shifts its focus from the material world to a new, unseen dimension. There is no painful tearing away or violent disconnection. Rather, death is a gentle passage where the soul awakens to find itself very much alive, simply without a physical body. In his trance readings, Cayce described the sensation of death as peaceful, even liberating. The heavy burdens of the physical body, sickness, aging, pain, are shed, and what remains is the vibrant essence of the individual. Cayce taught that at the moment of death, there is often a period of confusion for the soul. Some realize immediately that they have passed, while others cling to familiar surroundings, unwilling to let go. Much depends on the spiritual development and beliefs of the individual. Those who have cultivated an inner life, a sense of spirit, or a belief in the continuity of existence, tend to transition more easily. They find themselves drawn into realms of light, greeted by guides, family members, or beings of higher consciousness. Others, who remain attached to purely material things, may linger closer to the earth for a time, trapped by unfinished business or unresolved emotions. According to Cayce, the soul carries with it the essence of all it has become during its earthly journey. It is not stripped of its memories, loves, fears, or hopes. All these things accompany the soul into the next realm, where they shape the experiences that follow. In other words, death does not change who we are. It simply reveals us more fully. Freed from the distractions of the body and the physical senses, the soul stands face to face with itself, experiencing reality in a purer, more immediate way. This transition, while natural, can also be overwhelming. Cayce described it as a moment when the soul becomes aware of a much larger universe, a universe where thoughts and intentions are instantly real, where there is no hiding behind words or appearances. What we are internally becomes our external reality. Love, hate, fear, peace, all these energies create the environment the soul initially encounters after death. Those who have cultivated love and spiritual growth find themselves drawn to realms of beauty and harmony, while those who are burdened by hatred, guilt, or material attachments may find themselves in darker, heavier planes, reflecting their inner state. Thus, for Cayce, death is not a punishment or a reward. It is simply a reflection, a natural consequence of the soul's own development. Just as a student's level of understanding determines what classroom they belong to, so the soul's state determines the plane of existence it enters after physical death. But this is not a fixed fate. Growth continues even beyond the grave. Souls are given opportunities to learn, heal, and evolve toward higher states of being, no matter where they find themselves immediately after passing on. One of the most profound aspects of Edgar Cayce's teachings about death was his emphasis on consciousness. Consciousness does not die. Awareness does not flicker out like a candle. Instead, it expands. Many souls, he said, are astonished by the vividness and clarity of their awareness after death. Freed from the dense physical senses, they can perceive realities that were once hidden, colors more vibrant than any on earth, music that resonates through the soul itself, and landscapes formed not by nature, but by the very thoughts and emotions of the beings who inhabit them. Ultimately, death is an invitation, an invitation to awaken to a deeper reality, an invitation to grow in ways we can scarcely imagine while bound by the limitations of the flesh. It is not something to be feared, but something to be understood, and even embraced as part of the soul's eternal adventure. After this transition, however, the soul does not simply drift aimlessly. According to Cayce, it immediately begins one of the most important experiences it will ever undergo: the life review. The life review is not a myth or a poetic image. According to Cayce, it is a real and vivid experience, more profound than anything we undergo while living. Upon passing, the soul is presented with a complete and total reflection of the life it just lived, every action, every word, every thought. But what makes this review so unique is how it is experienced. The soul not only recalls its actions, but feels the effects of those actions from the perspective of others. If you cause someone pain, you experience that pain. If you brought someone joy, you feel that joy. This is not presented as punishment, but as education. It is a chance for the soul to see itself truthfully, stripped of all justifications and illusions. During earthly life, it is easy to rationalize our behavior, to blame others, to minimize the harm we cause. But in the life review, all masks are stripped away. The soul witnesses the full ripple effects of its existence, and through this witnessing, gains a deeper understanding of love, empathy, and personal responsibility. According to Cayce, this process can be overwhelming, especially for those who lived selfishly or with cruelty. To see the harm one has caused can be deeply painful, but it is also profoundly healing. There is no external judge condemning the soul. The soul judges itself with a level of fairness and compassion that no earthly court could match. The purpose is not condemnation, but growth. The soul must understand where it has fallen short so it can correct itself, heal, and evolve. Cayce also emphasized that positive actions, acts of kindness, moments of compassion, sacrifices made for others, shine brightly in the life review. Even small, forgotten acts of goodness are remembered and magnified, often surprising the soul with their significance. A smile given to a stranger, a word of encouragement offered in passing. These moments can create ripples of healing that extend far beyond what we perceive in our earthly lives. The life review also prepares the soul for what comes next. By seeing itself honestly, the soul becomes more aware of what it needs to learn in future journeys. It understands what strengths it has developed and what weaknesses must still be overcome. This self-knowledge becomes the foundation for further growth, whether that growth happens in spiritual realms or in a future incarnation on Earth. One of the most beautiful aspects of Cayce's description of the life review is its spirit of mercy. No soul is left hopeless. No failure is final. No wound is beyond healing. Even the darkest life is seen in the larger context of the soul's eternal journey. We are all students in the great school of existence, and every mistake, every triumph, every experience is part of the education that ultimately leads us back to the divine. Thus, the life review is not a judgment day in the traditional sense. It is a moment of profound reckoning and profound hope. It is the soul's first step toward greater wisdom, greater love, and deeper unity with the source from which it came. According to Edgar Cayce, the soul's journey after death is not one of idle drifting or endless slumber. Far from resting passively, the souls of the departed are deeply engaged in meaningful activities. The afterlife, Cayce said, is a realm of continued growth, learning, and purposeful work. In many ways, it mirrors the opportunities and challenges of earthly life, but with greater clarity, freedom, and awareness. Immediately after completing the life review, the soul finds itself naturally drawn toward environments that correspond to its inner nature. Souls who have cultivated love, compassion, and a desire for growth tend to move into higher realms, which Cayce often described as beautiful and harmonious dimensions of light, color, and music. In these places, souls are not idle. They are students, teachers, healers, and builders, actively participating in the grand design of the universe. Learning becomes one of the soul's primary occupations. Freed from the distractions and limitations of the physical body, souls can absorb knowledge at extraordinary speeds. They study universal laws, the laws of love, balance, cause and effect, forgiveness, and harmony. They explore the mysteries of creation, the nature of consciousness, and the paths that lead back to unity with the divine. Unlike earthly education, which often feels tedious or disconnected, the learning in these realms is alive, vibrant, and deeply fulfilling. Every lesson is experienced, not just understood intellectually. Wisdom becomes a living force within the soul. Some souls also take on the role of guides and helpers. According to Cayce, many of the departed choose to assist those who are still living on earth. They act as silent inspirations, whispering encouragement into the hearts of those they love or feel drawn to help. They may offer protection during dangerous moments, or gently nudge a person toward a wiser choice. These guides do not control or override free will, but they offer influence and support in subtle and loving ways. In fact, Cayce suggested that many people are unknowingly aided by these unseen friends at critical points in their lives. Other souls engage in a different kind of preparation, planning their next incarnation. According to Cayce's readings, reincarnation is a natural part of the soul's evolution. Souls reflect on what they have learned and identify what they still need to master. Based on this understanding, they help design the circumstances of their future lives, choosing families, environments, challenges, and opportunities that will best serve their spiritual growth. This planning is done not as a punishment, but as an act of free will and deep commitment to the soul's ultimate purpose, returning fully to its divine origin through experience, wisdom, and love. The idea that the dead are preparing for future lifetimes reshapes the entire meaning of life and death. Earthly existence is not a random accident, nor is it a one-time test to pass or fail. It is a carefully woven journey of experiences, lessons, and transformations. Every life builds upon the last, and every death opens the door to deeper understanding. In addition to learning and preparing, many souls participate in building and creating on spiritual planes. Cayce described realms where thought itself is the creative force. Souls shape their surroundings with the power of their minds and hearts. Beautiful gardens, cities of light, temples of healing. These are not fantasies, but real environments formed by the collective consciousness of the souls who inhabit them. Creation in the spiritual world is instantaneous and fluid, reflecting the soul's inner purity and intention. Cayce also taught that souls spend time healing after the rigors of earthly existence. Life in the physical world, with all its struggles, pains, and disappointments, leaves wounds that must be mended. In the spiritual realms, souls receive healing energies, often through communion with higher beings or through immersion in fields of divine light. This healing is not just emotional or psychological, but also deeply spiritual, restoring the soul's memory of its true nature and reconnecting it with the flow of universal love. The work of the dead, then, is varied and profound. Some become teachers, helping other souls who are newer to the afterlife adjust and grow. Some devote themselves to acts of compassion, reaching back to help the living. Some focus on personal development, striving to purify their own consciousness so they can ascend to even higher realms. And some prepare for the sacred task of re-entering the material world to continue their journey of evolution. Cayce's portrayal of the afterlife is rich with hope and purpose. The soul is never static, never forgotten, never lost. There is no meaningless drifting or endless boredom. Every soul has a role to play in the grand unfolding of creation, Every soul is an active participant in the divine symphony, learning, serving, creating, and preparing for ever greater expressions of love and wisdom. Moreover, Cayce suggested that this work in the spiritual realms is not just for the soul's own benefit. The growth of each individual soul contributes to the growth of the entire universe. Every act of healing, every moment of learning, every act of love echoes outward, touching other souls, lifting them higher, and weaving new threads into the vast and beautiful tapestry of existence. In this view, the soul's work after death is nothing less than cosmic, a sacred partnership with the divine in the ongoing creation of reality itself. Thus, according to Edgar Cayce, the dead are not merely resting in peace. They are alive, vibrant, purposeful, and deeply engaged in a journey of endless wonder and growth. A journey that we too will one day rejoin when we step through the same doorway and continue our own eternal story. One of the most comforting and powerful insights Edgar Cayce offered about life after death is the reality of reunion. Death may separate us physically from those we love, but according to Cayce, it does not sever the bonds of the heart. Love, he said, is one of the most enduring forces in the universe, a thread that not even death can break. Upon crossing into the next dimension, many souls experience a joyous reunion with loved ones who have passed before them. These reunions are not vague or ghostly encounters. Cayce described them as vivid, emotional, and overwhelmingly real. Souls recognize each other not by physical appearance, although familiar forms can be taken temporarily to ease the reunion, but by the deep, unmistakable vibration of the spirit. There is an immediate recognition, a profound knowing that transcends words or appearances. In the afterlife, souls perceive one another's true essence, the living heart of the being they once knew and loved. Family members, friends, mentors, even beloved pets may be part of these welcome committees. The newly arrived soul often finds itself surrounded by familiar presences, offering comfort, guidance, and love as it adjusts to its new state of existence. These meetings are not bound by time as we know it. Those who died long before us are just as present and accessible as those who passed recently. Time in the spiritual world is fluid, and love bridges all apparent gaps effortlessly. Cayce often emphasized that these meetings serve important purposes beyond mere comfort. Loved ones who have already adapted to the afterlife act as guides and companions for the new arrival. They help the soul understand its surroundings, navigate its new abilities, and begin the process of self-discovery and healing that awaits. In many cases, family groups remain connected even across multiple incarnations, aiding and supporting one another's spiritual development over the course of many lifetimes. The idea of reunion also extends beyond the immediate circle of the last earthly life. Cayce revealed that we often reconnect with souls we knew from distant past lives, companions from centuries or even millennia ago. Souls that shared deep bonds of love, learning, or even conflict are drawn back together to resolve unfinished business, deepen their understanding, or celebrate the progress they have made together. In the afterlife, we rediscover the fullness of our soul relationships, many of which are far older and richer than our conscious minds remember. These reunions are not limited to joyful celebrations alone. Sometimes, according to Cayce, there are meetings between souls who had unresolved conflicts or hurt one another during earthly life. In the higher planes, free from the defensive ego and the illusions of separation, forgiveness becomes possible. Souls can seek understanding, offer apologies, and heal wounds that could not be mended while bound by the limitations of the physical world. These reconciliations are part of the deep spiritual work that prepares the soul for further growth. The experience of reunion also reminds the soul of its true home, a reality where separation is an illusion and unity is the fundamental truth. In life, we often feel isolated, disconnected from one another, and even from ourselves. But in death, these walls dissolve. We realize that we were never truly alone. Every act of love, every bond of friendship, every sacred connection was real, eternal, and waiting to embrace us once more. Cayce described these meetings as profoundly healing. The emotional wounds carried from a lifetime of loss, loneliness, and misunderstanding are gently soothed. The soul feels seen, known, and cherished, not for achievements or outward appearances, but simply for being what it is. There is a sense of being welcomed back into a great family, a living network of souls, all journeying together toward greater love and understanding. Beyond reunions with loved ones, Cayce suggested that many souls encounter beings of higher consciousness, spiritual teachers, angelic presences, and guides who have long surpassed the need for earthly incarnation. These encounters are filled with awe, inspiration, and a powerful sense of belonging to a greater cosmic order. Such meetings deepen the soul's understanding of its place in the grand design and awaken a yearning to grow and evolve toward higher states of being. Not every soul immediately experiences a joyful reunion. Some, especially those heavily attached to earthly concerns or weighed down by guilt and fear, may initially find themselves in solitude. But even in these cases, Cayce assured, help and companionship are always available. The forces of love are endlessly patient, gently waiting and offering light until the soul is ready to receive it. No one is truly abandoned. No soul is ever forsaken. The nature of the reunion experience often reflects the soul's state of mind and heart at the time of death. Those open to love, forgiveness, and spiritual truth encounter loving companions swiftly. Those clinging to fear, resentment, or disbelief may take longer to recognize the presence of love around them. But in all cases, reunion is the destiny of every soul, for love is the very fabric of existence, and no soul can be forever separated from it. Cayce's vision of the afterlife offers profound hope for those grieving the loss of loved ones. Death does not erase relationships. It transforms them. It removes the barriers of misunderstanding, distance, and time, allowing souls to meet again in a purer, freer form. It reminds us that the goodbyes we say in this life are temporary, that every tear, every heartache, every longing to see a loved one again will one day be answered with joy beyond imagining. And so, when we think of those who have gone before us, we can hold fast to Cayce's promise that they are not lost, not distant, not asleep in some faraway place. They are alive, vibrant, growing, and waiting with open arms, eager for the moment when we too will cross that threshold and find ourselves home again among the souls we have always loved and who have always loved us. According to Edgar Cayce, death is not the final destination for the soul. Rather, it is a resting point, a moment of reflection and healing before the next chapter begins. The soul, after reviewing its life and reconnecting with loved ones, does not remain idle. It begins preparing for the next stage of its eternal journey, a journey that could take many forms, depending on the soul's level of growth, its desires, and its divine mission. Cayce explained that after the initial stages of transition and reunion, the soul enters a period of deep planning and contemplation. In this time, the soul reflects on the lessons it has learned through its most recent life, the successes, the failures, the acts of love, and the moments of selfishness. All of these experiences are examined with honesty and compassion. The soul, free from the distortions of the earthly mind, understands the deeper consequences of its actions. It sees clearly what has been mastered and what remains unfinished. Based on this profound self-awareness, the soul begins to consider what comes next. Many souls feel a natural pull toward continued growth, a yearning to correct their past mistakes, to strengthen their virtues, or to fulfill a purpose they may have left incomplete. Earthly life, with all its hardships and beauty, offers unique opportunities for the soul to evolve, to balance karma, and to cultivate qualities like patience, compassion, courage, and wisdom. Thus, for many souls, the desire to return to the physical world arises not out of punishment, but out of love. Love for the divine purpose that calls them higher. In this planning phase, the soul does not act alone. According to Cayce, there are higher beings, guides, counselors, and spiritual teachers who assist in designing the next incarnation. These beings, full of wisdom and compassion, help the soul choose circumstances that will best promote its growth. Together, they consider factors such as the soul's karmic debts, the strengths it needs to develop, and the opportunities it will need to fulfill its spiritual mission. The soul might select a life of difficulty, not because it desires suffering, but because hardship can accelerate growth. Challenges such as poverty, illness, betrayal, or loss can forge resilience, empathy, and humility if met with the right attitude. Similarly, a soul might choose a life of influence, wealth, or leadership, not for egoic gratification, but to learn how to use power wisely, to serve others, and to resist the temptations of corruption. Every life plan is uniquely tailored to the soul's needs and its stage of evolution. Reincarnation, in Cayce's view, is not a random process. It is a sacred agreement, entered into willingly by the soul and overseen by divine law. The circumstances of a new life are not punishments handed down by a vengeful deity, but opportunities chosen with profound wisdom and purpose. Every soul writes its own story, weaving together its strengths and weaknesses, its hopes and fears, into a tapestry of experiences designed to bring it closer to its true nature, the image of the divine within. Not all souls choose to return to Earth immediately. Some may remain in the spiritual realms for extended periods, continuing their studies, serving as guides for others, or working to heal wounds from past lives. These souls may ascend to higher planes of existence where the need for physical incarnation diminishes. In these realms, growth continues, but through service, love, and the deepening of divine consciousness, rather than through the trials of material life. For those souls preparing for reincarnation, the process is detailed and intentional. They choose the broad outlines of their next life, the family they will be born into, the cultural environment, the key relationships that will shape their journey. Souls often reincarnate with members of their soul group, those with whom they have deep karmic ties, to continue the work of growth and reconciliation begun in past lives. A parent, sibling, friend, or even an adversary in this life may have shared many lifetimes with us in various roles, each one offering new opportunities for learning and balance. Cayce also spoke of the importance of the soul's mission. Every soul, he said, has a purpose, a unique contribution to make to the world and to the greater unfolding of divine will. Some souls are called to teach, to heal, to create, to inspire. Others are called to live quiet lives of service, offering kindness and strength in ways that may never be publicly recognized, but are no less important. No soul's mission is greater or lesser than another's. Each is a necessary part of the great mosaic of existence. Preparing for a new life involves setting intentions, much like a traveler preparing for a long journey. The soul gathers the spiritual tools it will need, renews its commitment to growth, and accepts the risks and uncertainties that come with entering the world of matter. Earthly life is unpredictable. Free will is a powerful force. The soul knows that it may stumble, that it may face temptations and setbacks. But it also knows that every experience, every success, every failure, every heartbreak can be turned into wisdom if embraced with faith and perseverance. Cayce's vision of this process is filled with dignity and hope. Life is not a trap or a punishment. It is a sacred adventure, an opportunity to transform ignorance into understanding, selfishness into love, fear into courage. Death is not a defeat, but a stepping stone. Each incarnation is a schoolroom, a workshop, a proving ground for the soul's unfolding greatness. Even more inspiring is the understanding that the journey is never solitary. Throughout the soul's preparation and throughout each earthly life, divine guidance is always present. Angels, spirit guides, and the presence of the Creator walk beside the soul, whispering encouragement, offering strength, and illuminating the path when the way seems dark. Thus, for Edgar Cayce, death is not the end. It is the beginning of a new chapter. The dead are not lost, not forgotten, not trapped in an endless sleep. They are awake, alive, and moving steadily toward their next great adventure, preparing with love and purpose to re-enter the world of form, to continue the sacred work of becoming ever more fully what they were always meant to be, reflections of the divine light, radiant and free.